sure there will be nothing of any sort in the Jaguar facility.
A lot to unpack here. Max, we'll start with you. What's your reaction to this hiring?
Molly, would you mind if once again I threw it to Key, because I am curious about someone who, an African-American player who played in the league for a number of years. Yes. Yeah,
no, I would have wanted to start with Keyshawn as well. I was just starting with you because obviously it's, your show here. And especially, Keyshawn, you've been around college football at the highest level and every level of football and have worked with young kids as well. What's your reaction to this?
I was excited for the Jaguars when they hired Urban Meyer. I thought that, I thought it was an opportunity for him to get his feet wet in the pros and really do an amazing job. Now, I'm like, all that energy that I had for him in Jacksonville is gone, right? And when you look at it, it's tone deaf as far as I'm concerned with Urban Meyer right now. Given our climate and the things that we've gone through over the last 4 years here in our country, let's just say that. And then you go out there and you hire somebody. Yeah, you've known him for 20 plus years and you've vetted him. Yes, all of those things are true. You can say that. But yet and still, the allegations at Iowa was disturbing. They gave him $1.1 million to leave for a reason. And there's over 50 players came to the university athletic department and told their story. Out of 50 players, everybody can't be lying. Now you, in your first opportunity, your first job in the National Football League, you want to start by hiring a guy that had racial issues at the school that he was at as a head strength and conditioning coach over a 20-year span at the University of Iowa. And Urban Meyer made the decision to bring him in to the organization in Jacksonville and believe that he's going to be a value to some of the players that are coming into those locker rooms, that when free agency hits, that you can explain to those players that, oh, no, he's okay, we vetted it. You can explain that to players? I doubt it. Now, everybody is going to say, well, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's changed. The dude just was fired 9 months ago. So you're going to make that big of a change and that big of a swoop in nine months on your views. The way I've always seen it, maybe he didn't use the N-word. As he said, he's never done that. He doesn't condone those sort of things. This came out of Chris Doyle's mouth. He doesn't condone that. Got it. Maybe you didn't use that. But you certainly have said some things that made people uncomfortable. Having been in that locker room and been in other locker rooms, Molly and Max, I can assure you, players are going to be looking at him sideways when they walk into that facility, whenever that takes place. I don't care what anybody says, because in the end, he's only as good as his word, and his word was bad at Iowa. So when you have veteran guys, the moment that you say something, grown men with, as I like to say, full beards, some of them, grown men with baby car seats in the back. It's different in college. When you have a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old guy trying to get to where these 27, 28-year-old men are at, they're going to kind of let things slide until they get to that point for fear of getting kicked out of school, for fear of being benched, for fear of the scholarship and education being taken away from them. In the National Football League, that doesn't work because they got millions of dollars in their bank accounts. And so in the end, he's going to have to answer to some of those individuals when they have that team meeting. They're going to be asking him questions. In the moment that he says something slightly or give them a certain look or a certain tone, is going to be problematic for Urban Meyer in that organization.
I want to read the ESPN.
And of all the years to have this kind of hire. Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, right, Molly. That's right. I thought that was a very good point.
Yeah.
I want to read the ESPN reporting about this. Over the past year, numerous former Iowa players spoke about mistreatment within the Iowa program. Numerous players. A number of black players said that Doyle used racist language and treated them differently based on their race. A number of. I'm assuming that number is not one or two.
I believe that number's 50.
Right. It's a lot. It's a high number. So what are the odds that everyone is out of their mind and making it up or misinterpreting things? It's pretty low, it seems to me. Now, do I believe that is disqualifying? I actually don't. I don't think in American life, people who have made mistakes should be permanently disqualified from employment in their chosen profession. However, before you can say, well, okay, fine, they're ready, I think there has to be some accountability. And it's not enough for the head coach to say, I vetted him, and the players are going to have to trust what I say. He's used to a college atmosphere.
Yes.
And let's be honest about what happens on a college level in basketball and football at the highest levels. It is coaches making millions of dollars, and the players, and by the way, TV networks and schools making millions of dollars on these programs, and the players are unpaid. And not only are they unpaid, but it wasn't that long ago that guys could get in trouble because they ate a bagel, but there was cream cheese on the bagel, and does that get, literally, what's that about? Why are the rules of amateurism so strictly enforced? Is that about keeping it pure and, well, partly because we're selling the product back to you, the fan, right? And partly it's because of control. You want to control an unpaid labor force. And the reason the racial issue is so important here is predominantly what is that unpaid labor force? In college and then in the NFL. When we talk along racial lines, who is the owner of the team always? Almost always the AD, usually the head coach, and on the one hand, and then who are the players on the other. So when an issue comes up like this, and the coach talks about transparency, but in fact, the vetting process, well, tell us about the vetting process. What was that? It's not transparent, just saying, my players have to trust me. I'll take care of the vetting process. That, as Key said, in college, because they are controlled, because they do hope to one day make a living in this profession, it's easier to get away with that. In the pros, when you're dealing with the best in the world, and they've proven that, and they have millions of dollars, much harder to get away with that nonsense.
When you look at it on the surface, he's a strength and conditioning coach. They gave him a fancy title or whatever the case may be. In college, head coach is a pecking order. Head coach, strength and conditioning guy. Those are the two most powerful individuals within that football department. Players interact with the strength and conditioning coach several times a week. I mean, like several. Sometimes they even camp out in the strength and conditioning gym, just chilling, hanging around. So the communication is open there. Where in the pros, he won't have an opportunity to communicate with the NFL guys as much, but he will have to communicate with them in OTAs, in training camp, in mini camps throughout the course of the season. So it's very, very important, and people will get a read on him immediately. And on top of that, you have to think that, was there not another strength coach out there that could do the job without all the baggage, without all the issues? And Urban Meyer has been through some of this sort of stuff before. Think about Zach Smith and what went on at Ohio State as his recruiting coordinator and wide receiver coach. He ignored that until it blew up in his face.
Is this over for Urban Meyer before it begins, given everything you just said? They're going to have Trevor Lawrence. They're going to have, a real quarterback, one would think. But is this too much for this team to overcome already, Key?
Well, he's won everywhere he's been when he's had stuff, right? And so winning sometimes make things disappear. But I can guarantee you, and I'll say it again, the moment that something comes up is going to be problematic. Where guys in the NFL, as we've seen, they will stop on you. Where in college football, some things come up, they got to keep playing because they get to the money. Guys will start to quit on Urban Meyer if he doesn't address the issue head on, if there's an issue that comes up.
Yeah. I think just in this year, and this being his first stop at the NFL level, what you said, your visceral reaction initially there, Key, it just feels tone deaf. I think that's the perfect way to put it. We'll leave it there. Keyshawn, thanks for sticking around with us. I know you already did about 4 hours of TV, but we appreciate you. Have a fabulous weekend. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sorry I'm dressed this way in y'all great set.